Hi, this is Deb, and I'm going to walk you through lab activity number 2 in Module 1 for scientific validity in advertising. So what you're going to do generally is right here. You're going to locate a product that claims scientific proof that its wonderful powers of effectiveness are supported by this data. So you'll look for a product. It will take you a while. You can't pick the first thing you find because you're going to really want to look to get all your points until you find something that has a link to some scientific data, or at least how they set up the experiment to test it. All right, so it'll take a little bit of work and a little bit of online investigative powers. So you're going to fill out a worksheet that you'll see in a minute with all that information, answer the questions, and when you get that all done about your product, you're going to copy and paste it into a discussion board that everyone can see. The only thing that you're not going to complete is the last question. That last question is your investors page post. That means you look at everybody's product, and by reading their support, what their scientific data was, how it was supported, how the research was done, you're going to decide as an investor, where would you put your money? What product would you invest in and know you get a return on that money? All right, so worksheet to fill out. Next thing, this you can download it right here and type into it. That's what you want, but I'll just show you this so that you can see the document. All right, so you put your name and your product, and then as you do your research, copy and paste your websites into here. You don't have to use a format, just copy and post the address. At least 2, but more is better. All right, let's look at the questions. What specific claims do the manufacturers make about their product? All right, I'm going to show you one right now that I'm looking at. I did my research and found out these people think that you can eat candy and it will prevent tooth decay. Why did I choose this one? Well, it's kind of crazy, first of all, but also there's a little bit of research and background study on this. And so I get a little bit of scientific method here because really that's why I'm doing this activity. Instead of you just learning about scientific method, I want you to use it and apply it and analyze how these products have used scientific method to prove their effectiveness or not. All right, so back to this guy. This guy says, you eat this candy, you're not going to get cavities, which is kind of crazy, but let's look. All right, they figured out that Streptococcus mutans is the main culprit responsible for tooth decay. So I'm thinking that you may all have heard about probiotics at this time, but probiotics is where good bacteria help your body, right? So that's what they're talking about here. This bad guy converts simple sugars found in the mouth into an enamel-eroding acid that builds up as a sticky film of plaque and then gets tiny holes called cavities, all right, on your teeth. But there's another bacteria, Lactobacillus paracecii, I'm sure I didn't pronounce that right, but you get it, prevents the acid from attacking your teeth. And a lot of people take probiotics with different lactobacillus in it, as a matter of fact, for various things. But they found that if they put a dead version of that good bacteria in that candy, it helps to capture and neutralize the bad bacteria. So they found lower levels of Streptococcus after eating the candy, which could potentially lead to significantly fewer cavities for candy addicts. Okay, what we're talking here is they figured out how many Streptococcus, the bad guys, were took a sample from their mouth, off their teeth probably, had them eat candy, and then tested again. And they said there were fewer Streptococcus. So they make the educated guess that there would be fewer cavities as a result. All right? So now I know a little bit about this. Now I want to find a little bit more about the research. How did they set it up? And I found, because they told me who created the study, so BASF backed, and what group did it, and I found Organobalance, a German company. They said a short-term study claims that a lactic acid bacterium holds potential for use in sugar-free candies to reduce the risk of dental cavities, is what they're really referring to. All right, so we figured out what was going on. It was published in the Journal of Probiotics and Antimicrobial Proteins. Remember, I talked about probiotics a little bit. That's what this is. They're telling me how they set it up. Randomized, double-blind. That means nobody knows what they're getting. They're all getting the same. It looks the same, but it has different amounts of stuff in it. All right, so they had 60 people in 3 groups. Each group was instructed to consume either a placebo, that would be our control. They're not getting anything, and that way we know if anything changes, it was that placebo effect, not the result of the whatever the microbe in there that they're working with. And then, the second group got 1 milligram of it, and the third group got 2 milligrams of it. They ate this 4 times during 1.5 consecutive days. All right, let's look at this a minute. They only did this for 1.5 days. That's it. Interesting, I would say. And they tested saliva samples from each participant and compared levels of the streptococci. Remember, the one that caused cavities before and after the trial period. What did they find? That these streptococci were significantly lower on the PB candy groups compared to the participants' level before the study. And the placebo stayed the same. All right, that's what we really want to see, that it's the same. But even their researcher says, remarkable, I think they're trying to say a positive here, but after exposure to only 5 pieces of candy containing 1 or 2 milligrams of dead lactobacillus, all right? So that needs more work. That's not enough research, I'd say. So when I analyze it, I would criticize that. Let's see, and let's see what the participants said. They said it tasted fine, so there was nothing there. And that you'll see they put in here where it was published. That lactobacillus, this one microbe, does reduce mutant streptococci, so we have a really solid research thing going on there. Now, let's go back here. We have what specific claims. It says if you eat their candy, you're going to get fewer cavities. It's important that we know, have a clear understanding of science as a method of inquiry so that we can decide if this is a valid result or not. That's what we're really looking for. All right. Research design, we have our control group. They ate pieces of candy with nothing in it. 2 experimental groups. One got 1 milligram of the stuff in that candy, and the second group got 2 milligrams. All right. So dependent variable is experimental variable is that they get that microbe. Independent variable is the responding, and that is what we measure. And so what we measured was in their saliva. Was there a reduction in that bad microbe, right? And controlled variables. They had people not knowing which one they were getting. That blind study, that really helps because sometimes if people know they're getting which ones, it changes how they react to it. So the main thing that they controlled was that it was a blind study. Is the experiment design described as an appropriate test of the claims? Well, I've read about that. I think eating 4 pieces of candy probably wasn't enough. And the control group told us that, yeah, they could eat the candy and it didn't change anything. Because sometimes people have a placebo effect, that if they think they're taking medicine, they feel better, even if they're actually just getting a placebo. All right. We didn't have any real statistical analysis of that data. It wasn't included, but we had anecdotal. Well, they had a little bit. Look back and look and see if there's any. I think there might have been an 80% improvement. So look for any numbers to put in there. And then how would you set it up to make it a valid one? All I would do in this situation is give it a longer term study with more subjects. 60 subjects eating 4 pieces of candy really wasn't so good. And so figure out how often they should eat the candy, over what period of time, monitor cavity formation, as well as that microbe in their mouths. So, I mean, set it up however you think. And then I'd be ready for my investors page. That's where I would read everyone's. So here's the document. Now let's pretend, see, I opened it up, and let's pretend I have filled it all out. In my world, which is not a Mac, I want to highlight all of that. So Control A, I'll highlight it, then I want to copy it, Control C. And now I have it saved like that. And I want to go to my discussion board. Click to launch. I'm going to create a thread. And I'm going to copy my whole thing in here. So I click inside here, and for me, it's Control V. And so now I have put in all the data that I gathered and wrote down all in there. And I'm going to title it Candy Stops Cavities. And I think I spelled cavities wrong. All right. And so then once I get it all done, I'm going to submit. At this point, the only thing that I haven't filled out yet is my investor part, the last question. And when I'm all done, I'm going to come back and read everybody's post here. I can get to it from the link in the class, or I can just click on discussion board here on the side. And so you see if I click on discussion board in the left menu, it's being very slow, then I can see it there. And I click on that, and I'm in. And so then I can read and see which one I really think is a good product that I would invest in. All right, that's it for this part. If you have any questions, feel free to email me as always, and good luck.